Even though it was expected, like the whole Setsuna stopping Altair from like ending the world, and she had like her little redemption story, even though we all saw that coming. I mean, let's just face the facts. We all saw that coming because of just the last episode and all that, the preview and stuff. It was obvious. And even before then, it was just obvious that Setsuna would come back somehow by being created by Sota. It was just common sense something like this would happen. It's just been there for a very long time. Even though I saw it coming, normally I'd be very disappointed. I would be very upset, and honestly, I'd feel like that's it, and just be like really, really angry or something, or just depressed because of how shitty it was. But even though I saw it coming, it was a beautiful episode. Straight up, beautiful episode. It was just Setsuna and Altair talking. That's really all what this episode was about. There was no action. I mean, okay, yeah, there was some action. I'll get into that in a moment. But it was not like what we've been getting in the recent episodes. And this right here, this episode, definitely makes me just happy I stuck with this series. If I'm correct, next week is the finale. For instance, when the next episode rolls around, it's the epilogue, and then Recreators is done. So one episode left. So if I am correct, that would mean that the next episode is just basically epilogue. It's an entire episode dedicated to an epilogue, which I'm very interested in seeing on how it's done. I would really love to see Recreators get a season 2, because clearly from what we have seen, Recreators has been a blast. But I don't know if the studio that's working on this would want to make a Season 2, but I would really love to see a Season 2 focusing on Altair and Setsuna recreating their world and making multiple new worlds. I would love to see that. But anyways, though, let's talk about the main meat of this episode. Setsuna is, in a way, revived, but not really. I mean, she's technically still dead, but Sota recreated her, and when he recreated her, he kind of brought her back. Okay, let me explain. So, basically, as we know, Magane, she gave Sota the ability to bring anything to reality. Makes him like a god of ink. He can do anything he does. He didn't, like, need the acceptance of everybody else from the audience to do what he wanted when he wanted to bring his character to life. So, he could do whatever he wanted. And so, he decided to bring back Setsuna. He brought her back, and then because of that, the interaction, all that, he also brought back the world, the time of her death, where she did die. And so this kind of like warped the entire birdcage into the train scene. And so this could only have been possible thanks to, you know, Sota having the ability to do this. It was thanks to Magane. Now, like I said, as I explained in the last episode, we kind of saw this happening. I mean, Altair, she's a broken character. She is god tier status. Like, she's god level. That's how strong she is. She is so broken that, in all honesty, there is just no way that it would have made sense to bring her down. It would not make sense at all in terms of just a power standpoint. I mean, you look at all the other creations and stuff, they're not as strong as Altair. Altair is able to literally remove the plot twist and stuff from series. That's just like, oh my god, she's a writer. She's like a fake creator or something. She's able to just manipulate stuff and just destroy things like it's nothing just because of how broken her abilities are. So, some creation to go up against her and win, it just wouldn't make sense. From the standpoint of just writing in general, but the audience that's watching in Recreators, but also us as the audience as well, it just wouldn't have made sense. It would not make sense for her to go down like that. I mean, no amount of power-ups for any of the characters that were there in this battle would have made sense to go up against her. It would have been straight-up shit writing. So, this was the best possible option for the writers of Recreators to do. This was the best option. Bring Altair down thanks to Setsuna. And I really like how self-aware the writers of the series are, and also how they want us to be aware of it too. When Setsuna was brought in to this episode to bring down Altair to not be like a villain anymore, it was a very cowardly and dirty move. It was very dirty, it was very cowardly, and it's something that none of us can actually deny. It was a cowardly move. And let me explain why it was. Number one, let's think about Altair as a character. What has she been doing? Well, okay, we know her objective is to destroy the world, but why? why is she doing everything? Why has she done all of these heinous things? It's been for Setsuna. And so, if she would have struck at Setsuna, killed her, or destroyed her, it was kind of like, in a way, saying that her, I guess, her drive to achieve what she wanted thanks to what people did to her creator, it would have been meaningless. It would have been hypocritical. It would have shown that she was being just as bad to her creator as everybody else was. And it would show that her, like, motives and all that were very shallow. She didn't have a full-on desire to achieve them. So she would have been kind of flimsy as a villain. It would have just been like, oh, I want to destroy the world for the sake of destroying the world. And so this fits entirely with Altier's character, and she was fully aware of how dirty this was, but also the writers of the show wanted to make sure we were aware of how dirty this was, because in normal circumstances, if it was a very poor written character, the villain most likely would have said, you're not my creator, stabbed the fucking, person, stabbed Setsuna, moved on. That would have been, a thing. But here's the thing, okay, about that. If she would have done that to Setsuna, like I said, it would have proved a point that she was very shallow when it came to her objective. She didn't truly want to do it for Setsuna. She just wanted to do it because she just wanted to destroy the world. So thanks to the good writing of her character is actually why this makes sense. But even still, though, regardless, it's an asspull. It is an asspull. Now, I'm not saying it's an asspull in terms of just bad writing. I'm just saying it's an asspull in the series. With Setsuna coming back, it was an asspull. It was. It was definitely an asspull. And, I mean, it makes sense, though. As I explained in last week, Sota, with the ability he was given thanks to Magane, theoretically, he can create any type of asspull he wanted to be able to settle this story and save Altier or destroy her. He could have did anything he wanted, because the audience didn't need to accept it. And so it fit in with the plot of the story and all that for us as the audience, but the audience in the series, it might have felt like somewhat of an asspull because of how it was done. Regardless, though, the asspull that was done, it makes sense because, number one, most of the people that are there in the audience, okay, let's just talk about the audience, not us, the audience, but the audience and recreators. They probably felt a little bit upset that that did kind of come out of nowhere. I don't know if the writers, when they were doing their own little side stories and stuff, to bring it into this big battle, I don't know if they did foreshadowing to Setsuna or not, or give some background details to Altier, because that was never really explained from what I understand. So basically, some of them might have been a little bit lost with that backstory, or the reason why it was just so emotional was just because many grew to like Altier, wanting to know the reasons of why she acted like she did. And so many grew connected with her. And as I briefly stated last week, Altier, when the fans of the show were watching, they didn't want to see her brought down. They didn't want to see her die. They actually probably wanted to see her go through a redemption arc. And that's what she went through. She got redemption. And I like the entirety of this episode when it focuses on right and wrong, good or bad, good actions, the actions we have taken, and the choices we made. I like how it was stated that, yes, what Altier did, it's heinous. She can't take it back. But at the same time, though, it's understandable because of the circumstances that happened. And thanks to the conversation with her creator, which was Setsuna, she was able to come to an understanding. They both understood each other, and it was just truly beautiful. It was truly beautiful, and the conversation between the two characters, along with just the voice acting. Oh my god, the voice acting was definitely one of the best things about this episode of Recreators. Hands down, one of the best things about the episode, and the reason for it is one scene in particular that stood out to me. When the train sound started coming in and all that, the sound effects, you know that the train's coming. That would mean that Setsuna was about to die, because this shouldn't have been possible. This was like a miracle. Setsuna was about to die. And you know in your head what was about to happen. You're like, oh my god, she is about to get hit by a train, and this is going to fuel, Altier to get very, very angry and want to really destroy the world if she dies. That's what I was assuming was going to happen. And so, as the train's coming in and Setsuna's about to die, because that's what has to happen, Altier stands up against the world. She literally fights against the very laws of physics of the world to save her creator. And it's a very emotional scene, especially when you see her use everything in her arsenal to destroy the train that's basically fate itself coming in to kill Setsuna. She does everything in her possible ability to stop the train. You see her trying to shred the train and all that, and you just see how the train is getting shredded, but it's still moving so quickly, and it's reforming coming in, and she cannot stop it. But the only reason why she was able to do this, though, was thanks to the acceptance of the audience. That is truly amazing, because I'm not even gonna lie, when I was watching that part of the episode, I got emotional. I was like, holy shit, I'm getting choked up, this is sad. But it's not just that, though. I'm like, there's just no way she's gonna be able to save Setsuna. This is definitely gonna fuel her to really want to kill everyone, and I was in the back of my head, I'm like, please let her be able to save her, let her be able to save her, let her be able to save her. I was just hoping and praying for, Setsuna to survive, and if that's anything or any indication, that's most likely what the audience was feeling. Like, let Altair save her creator and all that. Let her save her. She's been through enough. Let her get this. Let her have something. Let her not hate the world so much. Let her see some form of kindness. That was truly a great moment. Really great usage of just art and animation and voice acting. Just a 10 out of 10 phenomenal job for that scene alone. Now, let's talk about the repercussions. What happened here? So, Altair and Setsuna, they are now in a separate world. They have created their own dimension or universe, so to say, separate from where our main characters are at in Recreators. And the reason for this is because what happened, it was not meant to be. Setsuna was not supposed to stay alive. She's not. She's like a walking miracle. And thanks to the abilities of Altair and all that, and what she could do, what she was capable of in that moment, thanks to the audience accepting her, she decided to create a world that would accept Setsuna and allow her to have her story. So it's very interesting and just amazing when you think about the message of this. When Altair, she actually created a world for her creator, and when her creator that was, actually made her to begin with, is now living in a story that her creation made, and then she's going to create Altair's story inside of Altair's creation. It's really, really cool, and there's just so many layers here. This series is amazing when it comes to fourth wall breaking and all that, and just being completely meta. I love Recreators for that. Now, let's talk about the little subtle details of Altair and her character in this episode. The violin. This is a scene that hit me probably the hardest besides the glasses scene. When she pulled out the violin, I was just in utter shock. I'm like, she actually is pulling out a violin. She's not pulling out like a gun or anything. I'm like, oh my god, she's playing the violin. And I don't know how many caught the message of that, so let me explain. Think about what Altair's been trying to do this entire series. She's been trying to destroy the world, so she wants to break everything apart. But in this case, with her pulling out the violin, while she was creating the new world, or while she was there, she was creating something. She didn't just create the world, she was creating music. She was actually being a part of something, bringing life to something. And so, with her character pulling out the violin, it's kind of like saying she put aside her tools of destruction, and she now wants to focus on creating. And that's what that scene represented. When she pulled out the violin and started to play, it was to show she is now a creator. She's kind of like a fake creator, but she's a creator now. She is trying to make a beautiful world, and that is what she is doing. So, like I said, if there is ever a Season 2, I'd like to see a Season 2 focus on Altair and Setsuna's world. I would love to see that, because there's so many possibilities with that they could do. But essentially, though, Altair and Setsuna, they're gods of their world. That's where they're at right now. They are gods of the world they're in, and so I'm interested to see where their world will go. Now let's talk about the glasses scene and Sota's redemption as well. So it wasn't just Altair getting redemption, it was Sota. Sota is a character that many since the very beginning, myself included, were trashing, because he was very plain, very boring, didn't have a presence at all. He was lacking so much in the series compared to the other characters. And after the backstory with Setsuna, many of us came to understand why he was like he was, why he was so, quiet, why he didn't interact much, or why he was just so boring or ordinary. It makes a lot more sense now. And we know one of the big things that's been paining him for his entire life, or the past many years of his life, is Setsuna's death. He blamed himself. He had so much guilt within him. And I don't even want to begin to imagine how the burden was on his heart for all of those years. But when he created Setsuna, there was so much meaning here. Number one, he created this creation, Setsuna. It isn't the real Setsuna, but he created a Setsuna that is basically just like the original. And for him to be able to do that, which is something, shows that he has finally caught up to her. See, one of the things that Sota was so jealous of was that Setsuna was always so skilled. She was able to bring so many things to life. She had beautiful drawings, and he felt like he was so inferior. He could never be like her. But with him creating Setsuna, which in turn was the one that created everything else that he admired, it was showing that he caught up to her level. To be able to make her entirely, it meant that he was finally at her level. He could finally say he can be there with her up near the top. But here's another thing as well. When she pulls out the glasses, it was a little detail, honestly. I was just very shocked that was actually added into this episode, and it really just hits you when you think about it. She pulls her glasses off. She's like, you know, these glasses aren't really mine. They're actually someone very precious to me. Someone that helped me out. And, you know, I created you, Altair, because I wanted to show you to him. And I was like, oh my god. So the whole reason why Altair was even created in the first place, it was for Sota to see her. That was the whole reasoning behind it. And when she's like, these glasses, just, it's a very important moment in my life and all that, I'm just like, oh my god. When she says this, and you just see how much she cares for Sota, it shows that she's like, don't worry, don't blame yourself, basically. That's kind of the way you can, like, the emotions you can get from that. And Sota was finally able to move on, let go of the guilt he felt in that moment. So Sota got his redemption, and Altair got her redemption, and everything ends pretty well, so to say, besides a couple of the other creations bleeding out on the side of the train track. So, besides that, I mean, everything, you know, ended pretty damn well. Honestly, too well in some ways. I wish there would have been a little bit more tragedy to this. I mean, you know how I feel about that. I have a tragedy boner, but, I mean, regardless, though, it was a good episode. I felt like the message of the episode was well received. I personally appreciate it, even though it was very predictable. I'm not going to lie. It was a very predictable episode. It was still a good episode, especially with the way it was done. I accept it. As a person that's been watching this, I accept this episode. I think it's very fitting for recreators. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love you all so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.